What's going on, everybody? Top 10 Pokemon back, and I would like to talk to you today about the Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box promos and the top 10 most expensive ones that exist in today's market. These ETB promos that we are seeing in today's market are a relatively new animal. The Scarlet and Violet era, to be exact, when they first started putting these cards in these Pokemon Center exclusive Elite Trainer boxes, and they have been just skyrocketing the past several months. So I thought it would be interesting to go over the prices of each of these cards as well as the population of each of them. It would make for an interesting top 10 list. Folks, a real quick shout out to today's video sponsor. It is the #1 global Pokemon TCG notification and investing community, PokeNotify. PokeNotify, if you don't already know, is a Discord server of TCG monitors curated to offer the fastest notifications on drops, restocks, and deals. It covers hundreds of websites and all major regions across the world. If you have PokeNotify, you'll be one of the first to be notified of important upcoming pre-orders for everything Destined Rivals and restocks on sets like Prismatic Evolutions and Journey Together. And right now, they're offering a free 3-day trial to test out their servers, and after that, use code TOP10Pokemon for 25% off your first month. The link to the website to sign up will be in the description of this video. Thank you so much for your support. Alright folks, let's talk about some Pokemon Center ETB promos, starting off with this guy from the Twilight Masquerade Elite Trainer box, the Teal Masked Ogerpon, that sold as a PSA 10 in auction for $189, and then again for about $212 this week. This card currently has a PSA 10 population of 428 copies. And unlike other Pokemon that are going to be on this list, this guy right here is relatively unknown. This is a very new Pokemon. All these Ogerpon Pokemon that came out in the Scarlet and Violet era are very, very brand new, so my hat's off to these Pokemon commanding prices like this. This is the number 10 most expensive Pokemon Center ETB card. The number 9 most expensive card on today's list comes from the Paradox Rift Elite Trainer box in this Iron Bundle. This is a futuristic type Delibird that sold as a PSA 10 in auction for about $320. However, this card only has 266 PSA 10 copies available. It's interesting how this Elite Trainer box has been out longer than the Twilight Masquerade ETB, yet the Twilight Masquerade ETB promo has a whole lot more PSA 10, so I don't know. This is the number 9 most expensive one on today's list. The number 8 most expensive card comes from the Scarlet and Violet base ETB in the form of this Miraidon in PSA 10 that had sold for $356. This particular card has a PSA 10 population of 455 copies. So tell me folks, are you fans of the Miraidon and Koraidon legendary type Pokemon in the new Scarlet and Violet era? I'm not really, but let me know what you think about them. This is the number 8 most expensive card. The number 7 most expensive ETB promo is this Iron Thorns from the Temporal Forces Elite Trainer box. This card has sold as a PSA 10 for $370 very recently, with a PSA 10 population of 189 copies. And I think when it comes to Paradox Rift and Temporal Forces, I'm more of a fan of the ancient Pokemon than I am of these futuristic types. I don't know. What do you think? This is the number 7 most expensive promo. Coming in number 6, we have this Eevee Pokemon Center stamped card that sold as a PSA 10 this past week for $395, and then again for $420. And this card, unlike the others, has a much larger PSA 10 population, having 1,713 copies. And it's not hard to see why. Prismatic Evolutions was so hot, so anticipated. Everybody wanted to get their hands on the ETBs, and it's also an Eevee, so there you go. This is the number 6 most expensive card. Coming in number 5, we have the lovable Snorlax Pokemon Center promo that in PSA 10 sold this week for $620, and then again for $671. Snorlax is definitely a fan favorite and usually commands a premium. This guy right here has 1,074 PSA 10 copies. So unlike the other cards on this list, aside from Eevee, Snorlax is super popular, very desirable, so makes sense to me. The number 4 most expensive Pokemon Center Elite Trainer box promo. You know them, you love them. Of course, it's the Pikachu from Paldea Evolved. This card was selling as a PSA 10 for about $1,005, but most recently had sold an auction for $840. And surprisingly, this Pikachu only has 479 PSA 10 copies. With it being a Pikachu, I thought we would have seen at least over 1,000 PSA 10s. So this card might be a little tougher to grade than we think. Getting down to the final three, this third card on our list really took me by surprise. It's this Koraidon from Scarlet and Violet base. This card sold as a PSA 10 in auction for $1,275, but most recently was listed for $1,150, had a best offer accepted price of $1,000. And it's also the lowest pop card on our list so far, only having 115 PSA 10 copies. So yeah, before I did this list, if you would have asked me what the top three most expensive ones were going to be, this Koraidon would not have been in the top three, in my opinion, but here we are. Speaking of surprising, the number 2 Pokemon Center ETB promo was very surprising to me. It is this Fluttermane from Temporal Forces that in PSA 10 had sold in auction for $1,225 and then again for $1,422. And this card is the lowest pop card in today's video, having only 61 PSA 10 copies. So yeah, the low population of this card is certainly driving the price of it. Before we get to the number 1 most expensive Pokemon Center Elite Trainer Box promo, let's go over a few honorable mention sales. Here we have a Noctowl from the Stellar Crown ETBs. Here's one that sold for $167. Another one that sold for $170. Here we have from everybody's favorite set, Shrouded Fable, a Pecharunt in PSA 10 that sold for $115. Here is a Magneton from the Surging Sparks Elite Trainer box that sells for about $142 as a PSA 10, along with this Mimikyu from Paldean Fates that sold for about $155. Here we saw a PSA 10 Screamtail promo that sold for $197.50. And then here, folks, I wanted to mention this card. It's the Ends Zorua from the Journey Together ETB. Had a very shilled price this past week of about $1,625. Like I said, I don't think it was a legit sale because as of right now, this card is buy it now for $490. So there's not really an established market for this card quite yet, so I didn't want to include it in the top 10 list, but there it is. Which brings me to the number 1 and most certainly the best Pokemon Center ETB promo. It is, of course, the Charmander from Obsidian Flames. This guy has been selling like crazy as a PSA 10. Here's an auction sale of $1,575, another one for $1,550, all the way up to $1,756. And this card has about 489 PSA 10 examples. And like I said, folks, it is easily the best promo card on this list. How can you argue? That's the list, folks. I just included the Pokemon Center stamped cards from ETBs, not all of the Pokemon Center cards. These are just the ones you get from the Pokemon Center ETBs. I wanted to clarify that. So yeah, let me know what you thought of the video in the comments below. I look forward to hearing from you, and I'll catch you in my next one.